Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. So, hopefully everybody had a great week here so far. I wanted to do this video here since the convention, but so many things kept coming up I couldn't really get to it immediately. So I'm doing this now. And so today it was really nice out. Clouds kept coming in a little bit and leaving, so it was partly sunny. You know, it was really nice. Temperatures are getting colder here, and soon, and I would imagine in just a couple of weeks, temperatures are going to get cold enough to freeze you know, glass and every damn thing else out there. You know, in the meantime, my cat's driving me crazy trying to catch a single fly in this apartment, and I can't get it myself, and so she's trying and she can't get it. And you're gonna get it, kitty. You're gonna get it. Jeffrey's gonna get you, kitty. So she's making me insane here because she's jumping on me and jumping on everything I own here, trying to get to that. Sit still. So the convention. Okay, so like I said, I was going to go on Friday, and thusly I did. I didn't go wicked early. I think I got there at about a little after 5:30, I guess I got there. And I only planned to stay for a couple hours. And this time, like I think I said, they had this convention at the Cross Insurance Center. I don't know why they just don't call it the Civic Center. They got to call it the Cross Insurance. It makes it sound like an insurance company or something. But it's a Civic Center, and they have to have all their events there. So anyway, yes, ow. So anyway, that's where they've had it, and I got there. There wasn't many cars parked there when I got there, and I think that thing started at about 3. So they had a good couple, 2-3 hours there going, and it wasn't busy at all. And that's why I like going there on a Friday with these conventions, is because everybody's still kind of working, and there's not a whole lot of people there to kind of cloud the whole place, all right? So I got my wish, and so I went in, and I took with me an extra battery for my phone, and an earpiece, a hands-free thing, and a bottle of water. Okay, so I go and get my ticket, and then I go to the other door. I don't know why they had it set up this way, but you had to go in one door to get the ticket, then leave that area, then go back outside and go in the other way. And so I went in the other way after I got the ticket, and there were two guys there, security, I guess, not police, just security for the building, and they wanted to check the bag that I had with the stuff in it, and they told me to take the bottle of water and dump it outside on the ground. And I said, okay, really? He says, yep, you can't bring food or drinks in here. So I was like, okay. So I went ahead and I dumped the water out. And when I came back in, the guy said, well, you can refill the water bottle once you come in here. You can get it from the fountain or something like that, to refill it. I said, okay. So, that kind of was like, all right. I don't know what they expected to happen with a bottle of water, but, I figured, well, I'm not going to argue with them because, I just ain't in the mood of it, and I just don't want to ruin, have them throw me out. So I gave them what they wanted. So anyway, they let me through. I got in, and I went up to a desk. There was a couple of women there, and I had to get a program thing, which I didn't really need because I was only going to be there for the one day out of the 3. And I went, and they gave me a wristband thing to wear, so that way if I left the building and I came back, they would know I already paid. And so I got that, and then as always, whenever I go in there, I get confused in that damn place how to get to certain spots of that damn arena. I don't know what it is, but it feels like I'm walking to a rat's maze or something when I go in there. It's not very coherent as to where you go from one spot to the next. This convention was not upstairs like they usually have it when it's at the Civic Center. Instead, they had it in the auditorium where they have the damn monster truck crap going on, okay? So I was like, oh, so because I was upstairs, and then I hear the commotion, and I look, and everything is downstairs. I was like, oh, well, so now I got to go downstairs. I mean, nobody told me I had to go downstairs, so I had to turn around and take escalator down, and I got down there, and then I said, well, I got to get some water. So there was a lady down there at the door entrance downstairs, and I asked her, I said, is there a water fountain or something around here? And she looked at me and said, geez, I don't know. I don't know. Then she went and asked some other guy, I don't know who he was, and he said, you can go into the men's room and take some water from the faucet if you want to refill your bottle. And I said, okay. So I went walking down the hall towards the men's room, okay, and I figured that there might be a fountain down there or something like that, because I wasn't really going to take the sink water, and there was a fountain. However, the fountain was on the other side of a barrier where you were not allowed to go, okay? So I was like, well, shit, I can't go across here to get to that fountain. Only employees were allowed there. So I was screwed because, I was either going to have to take water out of the damn bathroom sink, or I'd have to buy the water from the vendor around the corner, okay? So I was like, I was getting annoyed now. So, not knowing how much it would cost to get a bottle of water, I went over there and I asked the guy, who happened to speak Slavic, I guess, or, he sounded like he was a foreigner, like from maybe, Russia or Ukraine or, one of them countries. And I wanted to get a bottle of water, and he said $3.05 or something like that for a bottle of water. I mean, it wasn't that big, and it's like, Jesus Christ. So I took one bottle of that, and I said, okay, and I gave him a ticket, and I was like, this, they got a racket going on here. They dump your water out, and then the only way you can get more is to go and buy it, It's like, so I felt like, Christ. So anyway, I got the water, and then I went into the convention area where, all the people were set up to sell all kinds of goodies and everything. And the guy that I wanted to see there, Jonathan Frakes, hadn't showed up yet. He was probably eating or something like that, and he was going to be there at 5. So I guess he was a little bit behind, but he would have been there, at some point soon. So I just said, well, I'll just wait, And they had one side of the arena was just the guests, okay, the actors, the comic artists, and all that stuff. Okay, all the guests were on one side. The other side was all the vendors. Okay, so they had ample floor space to have the whole thing. You know, I didn't kind of like that. Okay, because you know you had all the celebrities sitting, you know, like in a fucking domino on, you know. And it made it really hard to know, you know, what line you were supposed to stand in. Now, the thing is there weren't any lines, okay, because there was hardly any, you know, that many people there. There was people, but it wasn't that crowded, okay. But there were some people who had, you know, quite a few people there and talking and everything. So I saw that Frakes' side was empty, and he wasn't there yet. So I started walking around where the people were selling things there, the vendors, and I saw some interesting things. There was a guy that was selling lightsaber handles. Okay, I'll never understand why people buy those things, but he wanted like $400 for these things a piece. Okay, and granted, they are well crafted, and they make sounds and they light and everything, but there's no fucking thing to go, you know. I guess you got to get that separate or something. I don't know. But he was selling those things and it wasn't cheap. And I really didn't bring that much. I brought about $300 with me is what I brought there. So I wasn't gonna just buy some big expensive thing. So I just kept walking around. I had my camera out, taking a few videos, and I was just, you know, and I started talking to some people that, you know, there was a guy that was making 3D printed things to a game, like figures and shit like that. And so I talked to him for a while about how that works, because I had no idea what 3D printing was and what that does. So he was happily willing to educate me on the whole idea of what 3D printing is. And so now I know better than what I did before. And I can see why those things are expensive when they're made, because the materials that they need in order to make this stuff is very expensive, and they got no choice. If they want to make a profit, they got to sell high. So, but he seemed to think that he was selling his stuff at as low a cost as he could, but still make a profit. And then he was telling me how he had to pay some fellow $50 or $80 a month to be able to make stuff that belongs, you know, where the trademark and all that goes to somebody else, where he has permission to make merchandise based on somebody else's product, where he had, you know, basically, because these things were, I can't remember the name of the game that it's based on, but they're like little robots and shit like that. And so he had to get permission to make that stuff and sell it, and when he has to pay somebody every month between $50 to $80 or something like that to be able to continue to use that trademark on the stuff. So he has permission to make these things, which I thought was interesting, you know, how they do that. Because I remember one convention I had gone to, there was a fellow that was making Star Trek phasers from the different movies, and he didn't have permission to make those because they had no trademark on them, and they were made out of this cast resin. I still have them, by the way, but they were illegal, and I don't know whatever happened, but you never see that person again making it with those things on the table. Somebody must have went after him, I guess. I don't know. I have to think that, you know, with these conventions, there are people there who are walking around making sure that everything is legal, probably posing as customers, you know. I don't see how else they can find out. So yeah, and then I saw some vintage Star Trek figures from the motion picture, and they had some Buck Rogers from the TV show. They had the Black Hole, Disney's Black Hole from back then. I saw those figures, and I saw, you know, Star Trek: The Next Generation figures from the 1980s. You know, the first batch, you know, not the ones that Playmates made, but the Galoob ones. I saw those. I saw they had some of the aliens I never saw like the Selly Delegate and stuff. I seen those, and they wanted like between $40 to $100 a piece for those things, you know. So yeah, I was tempted, to say the least, to blow all my friggin' money on junk, but you know, I was like, well, this isn't the reason why I came here. Okay, this isn't the reason. If it was, then I would have came here with about $800 or $900. Okay, so like I said, I did buy some things. There was this lady that was making crochet dolls, and here's one that she made. It's skeletal. And the reason I bought this is because I had my grandmother's sister, who lived up on French Island, just up the street and over 2 doors. She used to make my sister and I these dolls out of crochet like this when we were little kids, and she'd mail them to us all the way down in Texas because we didn't live there. So she made me a big E.T. crocheted like this here, and made my sister a doll. I think it was a strawberry shortcake doll, and we had that thing for years, those dolls. And then she sent us a Humpty Dumpty. I remember that. It was a Humpty Dumpty, and the head she put looked like real hair. And my father got fooled by it because one night I was sleeping and I had the Humpty Dumpty there in the bed, and he went to go tap on my head, but he was tapping on the doll's head because he thought it was my head, and it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, she used to make these really cool dolls, and she got the pattern to make E.T. She says there were patterns in the stores that you buy in order to make these things. Okay, the lady that I bought this from didn't say that she got a pattern for it. She just did it, you know. But it's really cool looking. I mean, I like how she did it and everything. And she's local. She lives right in the Bangor area. And I said, you know, I'll buy one of these things. It was only $25 for it. I mean, I'm sure it cost more than that to make it. You know, the stuff, she's got different, 3-4 different colors here on this thing. And so I got that. And I got this little gray mouse for Smokey to play with. And, you know, that's pretty much what oh yeah, and I got 2 from the Black Hole movie, these cards with bubble gum in them, you know, what do they call them? Collector's cards that I got, unopened packages. I bought those and they weren't much. So, yeah, so, you know, I just bought a few things. I didn't get a lot. So, in about, you know, an hour, almost an hour, Frake shows up, okay? He comes in, there's a woman with him, I don't know who she is, and he takes his seat at the end. And so I kind of, you know, migrate over to the celebrities area, and I got there, and there still wasn't a lot of people there. So I was like, so he's sitting there, and he's talking to 2 women, 2 young women. They're sitting there, you know, laughing and giggling and shit, and they're just talking. And, you know, then they decide to take pictures and, you know, do a little video or some damn thing. I don't know what they were doing. They, you know, just sitting there talking. And then the lady beside him motions to me, she goes, "Come on up here if you're here." And I said, well, I don't want to get in anybody's, you know, crowd anyone's way. Because, see, the reason why I held back is because the way they had this thing gated, okay, was you had a T-shaped entrance to the table that the actor or the celebrity was sitting at, okay? You didn't line up at the table itself. You lined up out in the walkway outside of the table, you know what I'm saying? And then you just go in, right? Which was totally bizarre because, you know, you got all these other tables with the same T-shaped entrance going in, and, you know, you have that set up where, you know, you don't know where anybody's going, where it, you know, this one big long line, and everybody just kind of jumps into whatever, you know, register line you want to go into. So I was just standing there because it was just the 2 girls, so I figured I could just stand wherever I wanted. But she wanted me to come in to the table, next to the table, and just wait there. And I was like, well, you know, they were doing pictures. I didn't want to get in the frame, or, you know. So I said, well, I'll just wait here, okay. And she's like, okay, you know. So I waited for the girls to leave, and they did. And then I don't know, he went somewhere and he talked to somebody. And then I went to the table, and there was a bunch of pictures of Jonathan Frakes everywhere. And she says, "So what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I think I'll take one of these pictures and have him sign that." I looked at the price. A signature was $50. A signature on one of those photographs was $60. And it was $80 to do a selfie with him, and $100 for a package thing for, I don't know, some of the things together all in one. I was like, Jesus Christ. You know, I was like, so, you know, what I said, okay, I'll just pick a picture. He can sign that. Okay. I just, you know, figured to have something. But I couldn't do no pictures of him while I was standing there. I couldn't, because you'd have to pay for that. And so I was screwed, because, you know, I wanted to take one photograph of him signing the damn thing that I handed him, and he, you know, just couldn't do it. So anyway, he comes back to the table, and, you know, we shake hands, and, you know, he's like, what would you like? I said, I picked this picture of him. This was when he was on the Waltons. He was playing Ashley Longworth Jr. And he looked at that and he goes, "Oh, yes, the Waltons." I said, "Yep." I said, "I got that one. I picked that one because that's where I was first introduced to you as an actor." And I said, "I had forgotten that you had been on that show when I saw you on Star Trek The Next Generation." But I said, there was a thing, in, you know, where I said, I've seen that face before. Where? Okay, because I forget names, I forget stuff, but I remember a face, and if it sticks in my mind. And I said, my mother come up to me and said, "Oh, it's Ashley." She remembered. And I was like, "Ashley," and she says, "You remember, well, on the Waltons, the guy with the Navy uniform on it?" I said, "Ashley." Oh, I said, "Oh, yes, that's who he is." Now, I should have recognized him right off, because in this picture, he looks just like he did in season 1 of TNG. You know, no beard or anything. His face looks the same. Okay, didn't age at all in that time. He laughed, and I said to him, I said, "You know, there's something I wanted to say about that when you was acting in that show." I said, "Yeah, the first time you played Ashley, you wore this white uniform in the picture, and it was all white and everything. And I said, the second time you came back, you wore the Navy's darker uniform, like the brown kind of uniform." He says, "Yeah." And I said, it took me a while to, you know, piece together in my mind why they chose you to wear that uniform and not the white one. And I said, I figured it out, you know, years back. I said, the reason they did that was because you were coming back for the second time a little less shiny, a little less green, a little less happy than the first time you were on there. Okay, they had to show you as being someone who's gone through a lot in World War II in the Navy, seen a lot of things, and now your star isn't gold, it's silver. You know what I'm saying? And so your uniform reflected the fact that, you know, it's tainted. Your personality is tainted. And I said, so that's why they gave you that darker Navy uniform in the second time you appeared, and not the bright white one. I said, and he says, "Well, that's a pretty good observation." And I said, "Yeah." I said, you know, and I said it made sense, you know, because I was wondering, you know, because I figured, you know, uniforms are uniforms, they look the same, right? But that time you weren't wearing the whites, you were wearing the other thing. And I said that was the reason why, because they wanted to give to the audience, convey to the audience the message that, hey, this guy is seen some stuff, and he's kind of depressed and a little bit, you know, he's dealing with issues now. Okay, so he's not the same chipper guy you saw the first time around. Now he's got war time under his belt. And I said that was a symbolic way of saying that to the audience. And I said I picked that up, and I said, now I understand why they did that. And so he was glad that I had noticed that. So he says, "Well, how do you want me to sign this?" I said just to Jeff. And so he goes, "All right." So he just signs it out there, and he goes, and he hands it to me. He goes, "From Ashley Longworth," and I laugh. And I said, oh, and before I leave, I said, one more question. He says, yeah, shoot. What the hell ever happened to Thomas Riker? And he started to laugh. And he goes, I don't know. He goes, what happened? And the lady next to him says, oh, he got thrown in the Cardassian prison. He goes, yeah, that's right. He goes, yeah, he's in the Cardassian prison, but I don't know. He goes, we're going to probably have to do a TV show about that and find out what happened to him. I said, well, that would really, I think, give a lot of smiles to the fans out there, because I said, you know, even though we saw him a couple of times, he did leave an imprint on people's recollections of things. He was an important character, even though it was just a clone of Will. You know, it still mattered. I mean, because he's a Riker. And you know, we just I think we should have some kind of closure. If there's any closure on that, there should be closure to that. And he agreed, and he said, yeah, you know. So it gave me a little bit of hope that perhaps they might do something later on with that character, so that way there is some closure. Because as far as we know, the poor guy is still sitting in the Cardassian prison, or somewhere, we don't know. So let me go to commercial break, and we'll be back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Might not want to show too much of the bottom part there, but without too many curse words here, sir. What are your thoughts?
I don't have friends. I don't have family.
He's honest. He cares about kids. He cares about guns. He cares about our country.
Trump is mean.
Right now, my rights are being denied by the FBI.
I'm a proud Polish person.
He tells the truth, never lies.
I'm old. You can see I'm old. I'm older.
We need to get down on our hands and knees and pray for this man to get into office.
Trump has a big mouth. We all have big mouths. Right, people? Trump! Trump! Trump!
His Christian values that he stands for.
We love Trump! We love Trump! We love Trump!
But definitely not woke, definitely not anything about any of that type of mentality.
Evil's taken over. Good needs to overcome the evil, and Donald Trump is going to do it.
King Jesus first and then King Trump.
And China. Put an end to it.
It's my birthday weekend.
The left and the rhinos, the globalists.
They kill them all. Kill them all.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show.
I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so anyway, to continue my description here of what went on. So yes, we talked about Thomas Riker and you know, and him thinking about maybe we should do an episode or two or something, a special perhaps, or whatever they want to do it. To kind of go over Thomas Riker. And, you know, and I can't imagine, you know, any Star Trek fan of Next Generation being opposed to that. Of all the characters that we loved, like Hugh and Ensign Rowe, and then Commander Shelby, all the other guest stars they brought back and then killed off. Why they never thought to bring Thomas Riker back in some fashion or other, I don't know. You know, if there was a character they could have killed off, and I don't think the fans would have minded much, would have been Thomas Riker. Because it seemed to me like Paramount at the time had closed the book on that character and wasn't willing to go back and revisit it at all. You know, and I thought that was kind of unfair because they left a huge door open to that, you know, to a follow-up story, which we never got. Now, I think some writers out there probably wrote a story or two involving that character, but as you know, these novels that writers create based on Star Trek are never considered canon. Even though today it seems kind of wishy-washy what canon is now, I would say that, you know, if any writer wants to write something Star Trek today, people can just excuse it, even if they don't want to make it canon, say, well, it's another reality. That seems to be the excuse we give things now that don't measure up to what we think is canon, and we call it alternate reality, you know. And so, you know, somebody could write something like that, and if you want it to be part of canon, it's up to you, you know. But the thing is like I said, there was that door left open, and I was like, you know, for years I was always wondering what are they ever going to do with this character. And when they were doing Picard, I was kind of hoping a little bit that maybe they might say something about what happened to Thomas Riker, even if it was just by, you know, dialogue. At least you get some idea You know, because he's an important character now. I mean, because like I said, it's not Will Riker, yes, but in kind of a way, you know, they're both Will Riker. You know, it's just one is using the middle name and the other one isn't. Even though at some point when Will Riker was split into two Will Rikers, one of them went back to the surface of that moon, whatever the hell planet it was, and had his own day-to-day life while he was there for those years, and the other one went back to the ship and, you know, continued his career and everything else. So from that point on, they were different. And, you know, it's sort of like having a twin brother. You know, at that point, he got a twin brother. And so that made him an important character because he's connected to a main character on a TV show. So it's like, you know, so you can't just throw him to the wind, right? You gotta have that there. And I thought it made a good kind of a little bit of a struggle there because, you know, he's still very much in love with Deanna, okay? Because the last time he saw her, they had just, you know, went their separate ways, but he didn't really want to leave her. While Will Riker has been serving with her for a number of years, and they kind of, you know, let their relationship kind of mellow, where Thomas Riker is still, you know, skyrocketing. You know, it really added a whole dynamic. We got to see, you know, something of their relationship that we didn't get to see really during the show because of, you know, the way Will Riker was given the first officership of the Enterprise D and therefore felt constrained by his job in order to maintain a certain decor, you know, of being the first officer and not showing, you know, that much favoritism or something to a member, you know, of the crew. So, but, you know, Thomas Riker wouldn't have been held back from that because he was just a lieutenant, I think, at the time. And so, you know, there was that. It was a very important thing, you know, back and forth between the two characters, which, you know, Frakes really did well. I think of all the episodes, that's one of my favorites here with Jonathan Frakes acting as, you know, two different people, but the same, you know. So I like that episode, and I always kind of like, you know, rewatching it. And then, of course, when he showed up in Deep Space Nine, posing as Will Riker, just so he could get his hands on the Defiant, that opened up another avenue of what might have happened to Riker, because if you remember, Major Kira was watching what Thomas Riker was doing. He says, you know, you don't behave much like a terrorist. She goes, you're acting more like an officer with a mission at hand. And she says, if it was me, because I was a terrorist, if it was me and I got my hands on this vessel, I would have went right for the first Cardassian target that was sitting there, and I'd have blown it to hell and every other damn thing, and I'd have had the Cardassians, you know, howling to come and get me, you know. But she says, you're not doing that. You're too busy reading sensor data and stuff like that. And so it made me think that, well, maybe he's on some kind of a mission from Starfleet Security or something, you know. And of course, the Section 31 thing didn't come up till seasons later. So, but at the time, you know, he could have been working for Starfleet Security, you know, having to get the Defiant to cross over into Cardassian space and do a sensor scan of a region that they suspect something is going on there. Okay. And I guess they didn't want to have Commander Sisko be in charge of the ship where he would have violated rules. Instead, they send Thomas Riker in, who probably volunteered for that mission to maybe pretend to be a Maquis sympathizer and hook up with a bunch of a gang of these Maquis people, and they go and they steal the Defiant. You know, all along, it's really his mission and his alone, while everyone else is just coming along for the ride. And that's kind of what I thought, is that he was on a secret mission from Starfleet Security, and that whatever happened to him, if he got caught, you know, they were going to disavow any knowledge, you know, you know, sort of like this Mission Impossible thing, and you know, he'd have to go and into, if the Cardassians wanted him in prison, then that's what he would have to do. So I figured that was kind of where it ended, and it's like, well, you know, but they never really kind of went back to, you know, to analyze that part of the story any deeper to find out why. I mean, they, you know, because remember Odo was saying that he was saying some pro-Maquis things on the USS Gandhi that he was serving on and all that. And I was thinking, well, maybe that was a setup to make people think he was flipping, you know. And, you know, it was probably all a ruse. Because if you remember, Thomas Riker wore the yellow uniform, which is engineering and security. Okay, he wore the yellow uniform, where Will Riker wore the red uniform. Okay, where, you know, he probably started off in that security and engineering part, okay, and then switched over to command, and that's how he got the red uniform. So if Thomas Riker was wearing the yellow uniform when we first saw him the first time when he showed up, then that means he was probably in security. I'm guessing something into security, and maybe not so much engineering. Okay, so that would probably explain why he was used for that thing. And of course, I'm just speculating because they never said anything about him being an agent for Starfleet security. But now we know about this Section 31 business going on. Then you could easily say, well, he was working for Section 31. Okay, and that's how he got his hands on the Defiant and everything else. He got all the access codes and everything straight from Section 31. So, yeah, you could easily say that. And that's just, and if they do talk about Riker and some other Star Trek show, that's probably what they'll say, is he was on a mission for Starfleet, Section 31. Which is like, you know, I don't like the whole idea of Section 31 anyway, but I'm sure that's what how they'll do it. But anyway, so yes, it was kind of funny that I had brought it up. And I'm sure a lot of other fans brought that up to him too. He probably gets that at every goddamn convention he goes to. So anyway, so I left and went back, looking at more stuff being sold, some comic books, posters, you know, things like that. And then there was a local artist that had made a graphic novel, and I talked to her for a bit, and I don't know what else. There was some guy was playing music or some damn thing. I can't remember now. Then of course there was this other part in there where kids were playing video games on what appeared to be flat screen TVs. And I'm thinking, they come to a convention to sit here and play video games? Can't take it. They could have done this at home. You know, what the hell? Yeah. But they had like 5 of these damn flat screen monitors, and every one of them had kids sitting there playing video games while the real action there's going on behind them. You know, no, they want to play video games. They come all the way down there. They spend $18 to get into the goddamn convention place just so they can go sit down and play video games. You know, and I'm thinking, that's kids today that just don't, I don't understand them. I really don't. You know. So yeah, I was there, like I said, for a couple hours, and then after I got my picture and Frakes' signature on it, I was pretty much done. Okay, it was getting really hot in that fucking auditorium, I got to tell you. It wasn't really cold out. It was probably like 60 degrees outside. But when I got in there, and there wasn't that many people in there, it felt like it was, you know, 80 degrees, you know. And when you're diabetic like I am, and I also suffer with hypertension, okay, the hypertension kind of kicks in a little bit when you're in a public place around lots of commotion and everything like that. I mean, I've learned over the years how to train myself to just calm down and not get all in a panic, which is why a lot of times, you know, I get confronted with things. I can handle myself talking to celebrities and stuff pretty easy because I don't allow myself to get all, you know, like that, like some people do, you know. I just take it slow, I take it easy, and I just don't let myself get all flustered. because it would kick that in. So it's like kind of like Spock has to control his emotions, you know. I gotta dial mine back too at the same time because it kicks that shit in. So with diabetes and stuff like that, you find yourself, even if you're watching your diet, and you know, your sugar level will show up in your, you know, in the way you act. Okay, if you've got low blood sugar or something, you're going to be kind of sluggish and everything, and it's going to be hard to enjoy yourself. Well, with the water, if I, you know, I have the water to keep my body temperature down. By the time I got to see Frakes, you know, I was sweating, you know, and it wasn't so much that, you know, my diabetes was that or my hypertension was kicking in. It was just fucking hot in there, and I was like, God damn, you know. And I see people wearing full body costumes, and I'm thinking, Christ, right now would not be a good time for it to wear a goddamn costume, you know. And I'm thinking, why did they turn the heat up so friggin' high? I mean, yes, the auditorium is a big room, okay? It's so big that they can have monster truck events in there, which if you were in there and you look at the size of the area, you would say that's kind of small, you know, when you got vehicles in there. But they do. They put these things on, okay? And you would think that there'd be room enough for the hot air that it would rise enough where the body, you know, it just wouldn't matter. But no, it got hot in there. And so when I was talking to Frakes, I mean, I was kind of sweating a little bit here, and I, you know, had napkins and John, you know, and I'm like, Jesus, you know, we're Mainers, okay? We sweat, you know, in 60-degree weather here, you know. I mean, it's to us that's like summer, okay? We're used to the low temperatures, okay? I personally prefer the low temperature. It's good for me with my hypertension and diabetes to be in a cold state, okay? You know, I can't live in a place like Florida, Texas, California, or, you know, Southern California. I couldn't be there, okay? I would just melt like Frosty the Snowman in the first summer. There was a time when I could have stayed in this, you know, places like that when I was little, but because I lived up here for so long now, my body's acclimated to this climate, okay? So now I can't really take big shifts in temperature by moving from one extreme to the other. I can handle myself better in the cold than I ever could in the heat, okay? The heat, it just stops me cold. It's kind of weird to say that. It just stops me right in my tracks when it's too hot. When it's cold, I can still do things. In fact, I feel better when it's cold out than it is when it's hot, you know. I don't know why, but I just seem to have more energy. And I breathe better when it's cold. I sleep better when it's cold. And so, yeah, anyway, very hot in that auditorium. And like I said, it made me uncomfortable being there. And I felt like it made me feel like my hypertension was kicking in, but it wasn't. Because when I get hypertension, it's usually because I'm doing something, I'm working, and then I start to sweat more than a normal person would if they're working. It's like my heart races at a panic level, okay? And it really takes willpower to calm yourself down. You got to give yourself pauses as you're working so you don't hyperventilate or something like that. You know, you just have to, you got to slow down, you know, and just breathe a little bit, calm yourself a little bit, relax, ground yourself, essentially. That's what you got to do. It's something you work with. I mean, the medication helps, but it's not the cure. It just helps to ease the symptoms of it, you know, which, like I said, you know, without that, I think it would be harder to control. But with the hypertension, yeah, I mean, it makes it difficult. It makes it difficult. So, anyway, I went and came home after that, and when I got here, I was kind of tired because I got back at about 8:30 or almost 9 o'clock. Okay, and I decided to just do something else. I didn't really want to do any videos or anything like that when I got back, and plus Smokey she'd been here all night by herself, and so I wanted to play with her a little bit. And then I did some dishes and watched a little TV, and then I went to bed. And then the next day come around, and I still wasn't feeling like doing any videos, even though there were some things to discuss, concerning the fighting going on over in Israel, which, at this point, I don't know what more to say about it, except that it's still going on. The fighting's still going on, and nobody seems to give a shit about peace, on either side. Okay, nobody cares. They just want to put up innocent people in front of the bullets and keep on fighting. And it's sad that that's what's going on over there, okay? It shows a complete lack of humanity on both sides. It's very difficult for Biden, I think, to try and show 100% support to, the Jewish people, in any way, because they're committing war crimes just the same thing as Hamas is doing, okay? It's a hard place to be for a president in this country to want to give support to them. Netanyahu is vicious, okay? And he's not well liked by the people that he's, presiding over in that country. He's not well liked. And he's in the middle of scandal over there, and this war is distracting everybody from his crimes that he was doing over there. That that now there's no telling when they'll be able to get back to that. Trying to kick him out as the leader of Israel. And so you got that problem there that's kind of been put on the back burner. It makes me wonder if they deliberately started this thing just to keep himself in power. Something like what Trump would have done if he could have got away with it here. Start a war so that way they couldn't remove him as president. But he's doing that over there. And now I find out today that some people on the ground were doing live streaming videos of themselves getting captured, tortured even, and some videos shown of people being shot, innocent kids and stuff like that. And that stuff is leaking out across the globe here on I don't think YouTube or some site has these pictures here, because they showed some on an ABC clip here that they had today. Some of the videos showing innocent people being beaten and stuff like that, and that's because people were streaming that stuff as it was happening. And I'm not sure if anyone was even aware of it, that that they were able to do that. But that stuff is getting out. It just tells me the times we're living in. It's one of those times where you're going to see things that you never would have seen 50 years ago, okay? Like, will you stop climbing? Okay, like the very first war that I think was televised to Americans as it was happening was the Vietnam War, okay? And I think that changed the way people perceived war from that day on. Before, it was the only way we could perceive war was through Hollywood, okay? They had to make movies out of the things that were being done over there, okay? And they were very, what can I say? Very PG, okay? They weren't, there was no foul language per se, and blood and guts and all that. It was very sterile, okay, what we got. So it made the heroes look heroic and everything, and there was no anti-heroes and stuff like that, and it was good and bad, okay? So we got this antiseptic version of what World War II looked like thanks to Hollywood. And I think, lately, these days, like Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List, and some of the more gritty versions of World War II coming from people who had the stories to tell it, we get to see a different side of what World War II was, what we didn't get to see or what our parents didn't get to see as it was happening. And now we see that, you know, hey, the war was just as dirty and gritty back then as it is fought today, you know. And it wouldn't have happened if we didn't go through that Vietnam War era, where we got to see, you know, how Vietnam was. And that changed the whole ball game as far as how we look at wars in America. So, I mean, if it was nasty and everything like that during Vietnam, then why the hell wouldn't it have been during World War II? War is war, okay? And as you can see, in Israel, it's the same story there. War is war. Each side is trying to commit genocide over the other. It's been that way ever since Jesus walked the earth, okay? I mean, it's just, that's the way they want to do it. And so it's very hard to make, you know, an argument about where we should stand on either side. Personally, I'd say it's an impossibility. Okay, if you want to take a side in something, you know, to be honored, to be respected, and anything like that, you want that person or that side to have some kind of rules about how you're going to do these things, right? But they're not interested in that. You know, you got one of the Israel generals on there practically, you know, saying, I don't give a shit what happens to Hamas. You know, we're going to go over there and kill and slaughter their babies and everything else, you know, and they earned it. They earned that coming to, you know, it's just this eye for an eye mentality that floods that region of the world is sickening. Okay, they've taken it to the nth fucking degree over there, and they don't know anything. It's like the maggots over here who think Donald Trump is the president. Those people over there that way with the eye for an eye philosophy, okay? And even though some people are going around saying this, but I don't see that the Democrats are siding with Hamas here. I don't know about you, if you've heard anything like that, but Democrats are not siding with Hamas. I don't think they're siding with the Jewish people either, to a big degree, okay? The only people who are siding with the Hamas that I hear are from the Republicans, okay, like on Fox. You hear Sean Hannity, you hear some of the callers on these shows and stuff like that talking about how, oh, the Jewish people deserve this and all this shit. That's where I'm hearing it. Democrats, I don't hear that, and I don't know why people have been saying that. I think what's going on is they're trying to throw some kind of mud at the liberal side of things just to see if it'll stick. You know, because like I said, Republicans are good at accusing the other side of doing what they're doing, you know, and the Democrats just sit back and take it, you know, instead of fighting back just as hard. So I haven't seen that, okay, even though people are saying that, oh, the Democrats are taking this, you know, bullshit. I haven't seen it, and if I haven't seen it, it's not noticeable. It's just a few mouths probably in a bunch, and probably because they're hanging around on X, formerly known as Twitter, okay? They've been hanging around on X and listening to the bullshit morons that have been making a new home base there that left, you know, the other chat sites there that were all Republican, okay? And now they've kind of taken over Twitter, and so I'm thinking maybe that's probably where they're getting this from. You know, what happens on Twitter gets put on the fucking news every day. So anyway, that's pretty much it for today. I guess I wanted to just really go over the convention here. And I hope everybody has a great upcoming weekend. So please subscribe and comment. Get your information about the COVID from your local news. It's still out there. I got my vaccinations and stuff for both, and I'm hoping everybody else will do that if they can get access to it. And please treat each other nice out there, okay, everybody? The holidays are coming up. I know the rest of the world seems to be in a constant state of turmoil, but it doesn't have to be that in our own families. You know, we can gauge ourselves on what we discuss with each other and stay away from issues that create friction. You don't need that. I think we've done enough friction in this country here the last a million friggin' years, so let's try and avoid that. So I'll see you all another time. Take care.